In an experiment to determine the focal length of a convex lens, a group of 5th form students set up the apparatus shown in figure 1. The students measured object distances u and corresponding image distances v and recorded information in table 1. So, first thing you're asked to do is to complete table 1 to show values for 1 over u and 1 over v, and you're also to include units and calculate to 3 significant figures. Then after that, on the grid provided on page 5 in the booklet that you will be provided, you're to plot a graph of 1 over u against 1 over v for 7 marks. If u, the object distance, is measured in centimeters, then 1 over u would be measured in 1 over centimeters. You could also alternatively have written that as centimeters to the negative 1 power. Then, if we're to find 1 over u values, that simply means we're to take 1 and divide it by the u values, or in other words, find the reciprocals. So the reciprocal of 20.0 will be 0.05. But notice that specifically the instruction says to give it to 3 significant figures. So that would be 0.050. Similarly, 1 over 55.6 will give you 0.018. And filling in the rests, you would get 0.033 and 0.025 and so on and so forth. So you're to then plot those values and your graph would look like this. The breakdown of the 7 points is as follows. You'll get 1 point for choosing a suitable scale. Please make sure that you state your scale. As you can see here at the top, I have that it's 1 centimeter to every 0.01 per centimeter, right? Or centimeter to the negative 1 power. Same thing goes for the vertical scale. You also get a point for labeling your axes and having the units with them. So on the horizontal axis, it's 1 over v, and the unit is centimeter to the negative 1 power. You get a point for having a title. So here we see a graph showing 1 over u versus 1 over v. You get 3 points for labeling. You get 3 points for plotting the points accurately, and you get 1 point for drawing a suitable line of best fit. So that is where your 7 marks is allocated. Please note though that whenever you do this, you should not use just a big blob as you see there. I did this on the internet and I could not find the proper tool to put a dot with a circle around it or an X, but that is what you should use, a dot with a circle around it or an X. So this is what your graph should look like. And later on in the problem, you're asked to find a couple things from this graph, namely the gradient. So that is where you see that triangle there drawn, and those 2 coordinates are taken from the line of best fit. Ideally, you should take your coordinates from the line of best fit from 2 points that are not points that were plotted. So you'll see there 0.010 as our x coordinate and 0.056 as our y coordinate, and the other pair of x and y coordinates 0.060 with 0.006. So if we're to calculate the gradient of the graph, first thing we should do is to write down those coordinates. And so we use the formula that the gradient is equal to the vertical rise over the horizontal run, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So substituting into our formula, we'll have 0.006 minus 0.056 divided by 0.060 minus 0.010. So that will be a negative 0.050 centimeters to the negative 1 power divided by a positive 0.050 centimeters to the negative 1 power. Here, the units of centimeters to the negative 1 are going to cancel out, and the negative 0.50 divided by the same thing but positive will give you a gradient equal to negative 1. For this graph, there are no units because they cancel out, right? But in general, please make sure that you have the correct units for your graph. You may notice that here, this graph question to calculate the gradient is only for 4 marks. Typically, it is for 5 marks because you are to include the gradient. Here, since no gradient is there for the answer, it's only for 4 marks. Next, you have to state the value of the intercept C on the 1 over u axis. So here, if you extend your line of best fit to reach the y-axis, you would see that it would reach at about 0.061234, 0.064. Alright, 4 little marks up there, but again, remember, depending on the scale, it's going to be in jumps of 2 here, so 0.068 centimeters to the negative 1 power. Therefore, to calculate the focal length f, we're to use this formula that is given, and we first need to rearrange it to make f equals 1 over c. So when we substitute 1 divided by 0.068 centimeters to the negative 1 power, will give us that the focal length is approximately 14.7 centimeters. Here, the 4 marks are given for rearranging the formula, for substituting into the formula, to calculate the correct answer and to have the correct units with the answer. Alright, so here the unit for the focal length is centimeters because that's a reciprocal of the reciprocal. Lastly, for question 1, we're to complete figure 2 to show the paths of rays 1, 2, and 3 as they pass through the convex lens represented by the dotted line. Recall that a convex lens is also a converging lens. Alright, so the paths of rays 1, 2, and 3. That very first one that passes right through the optical center is the easiest one to draw because any light ray that passes through the optical center is undeviated, or in other words, it goes through as a straight line. Then ray 3 would be the next one that I would draw because any ray that passes through the principal focus, capital F, when it reaches the lens, it will refract in such a way that it goes parallel to the principal axis. Then ray 1, the kind of tricky ray to draw. Technically, if a ray was coming in parallel to the principal axis, then it would refract in such a way such that it would pass through the principal focus, capital F. But notice that ray 1 is not coming in parallel to the principal axis. It's actually coming at an angle. And then also remember that this is a convex lens, which means that it is a converging lens, so it wants to bring the rays closer together as much as possible, or in other words, it will deflect it more so towards the normal. So this ray won't go straight and pass through F, but it will go down because it is refracted more. So those are for the 25 marks.